finally, and this also is very important too. If you're having a baby, if you can have it naturally, no judging if you can't, but if you can, it's always the best way to have a baby because your gut microbiome starts in childbirth.
That's right. It sure does. So when babies go through the birth canal, they actually are inoculated essentially with whatever flora the mother has. Mm-hmm. So it's really important as a pregnant woman to keep your microbiome in check and, kind of set the population right so that your baby is getting the best,
right, because you don't want those missing microbes, and I'm talking about a book too as well that Dr. Michael Blazer. I'll have to look at his name. I haven't read the book in years, but I read it like 7 years ago. And it was really fascinating. And he talked about that. And with his children were born, one of them was born cesarean, and they went to the extra effort to basically capture some of that, the microbes, the vaginal microbes, and slather the baby with it, basically, to give them the protection that they need. And it is a good idea.
It is a great idea. And a lot of the things that babies need, they're not necessarily the type of probiotics you think of that are fighting chronic disease or actually have some sort of active role. A lot of the role of the first bacteria that babies need are just to serve as a food source for those other bacterial organisms or even, some fungi and stuff like that they just are, waiting in order to create the right environment for the good guys that you want them to be populated with throughout their environment.
Yeah, absolutely. And the name of the doctor is Martin J. Blazer, Blaser. He's a medical doctor, and he wrote the book Missing Microbes. It's an excellent book. It's just a great book.
There's so many great books like that. I mean, they're just.
But he was the one that really started this movement, if you will. Okay, so psychobiotics. A lot of people are out there listening right now and saying, "What does that mean?"
Well, they're essentially the bacteria and the different microorganisms that are contained in your microbiome in your gut that actually have an active role at keeping your mental state in check, healthy. Mm-hmm. So your gut, communicates through the vagus nerve with your brain. And so if the electrical signals or the signals that your gut is sending to your brain are contrary to your life, to your happiness, then it makes it a lot more difficult for you. So essentially what you want is ones, it's even down to, I tell people this all the time whenever I do any sort of nutritional counseling with them. It's like the gut plays a role in everything that you do, even down to the foods that you crave. So if you're wanting more junk food and you crave junk food, that means that you do have a problem with the bacteria in your gut because they are basically parasitic. They're in your body and they're saying, we want this to survive. But in order to have a more balanced microbiome, you need to flush those guys out. And once you flush them out, it's almost immediate. You'll see a big change in yourself and you'll go from wanting the junk into craving the health food. Mm-hmm. And it affects your mental health at the same time.
Well, it's fascinating to think that these microbes are basically, they're running things.
Oh,
they're
sure.
90% of your body is your microbiome, and 10%, isn't that what they're reporting now? 10% human. It's like, holy smokes.
Yeah, the number's all over the place. I saw a study recently that said the amount of I guess, cognitive thought actually that's produced by the microbes that are in your gut is equivalent to that of the brain size of a medium to large dog.
Wow.
So you essentially
it's funny you
have
say
a
that.
second brain.
I was thinking, do I pick up the microbiome from my dog when I let him kiss me or lick? My dog.
For sure
you do.
He licks me.
They have studies that show that children that grow up around animals have a more robust immune system, probably most directly related to being exposed to the allergen potential like dander and stuff, but also just the swapping of the bugs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just think of how resilient dogs are. They have incredible immune systems for the most part.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, there's a big rising need too for canine probiotics. They're different than ours. I mean, but at the same time, with the fermented foods that I make, if for some reason the taste is off, it's not quite what we want it to be. Usually it's a little too sour. Maybe it just looks a little bit weird. I don't feel comfortable feeding it to the kids. The dogs love it.
Yeah, and as you know, there's a lot of deception in that area of the supplement business. There really is, because a lot of those supplements that you buy, those probiotics can never really get activated, can they?
No, they really can't. So we started this whole talk off with saying, at least, finally it's become mainstream. Well, the idea has become mainstream, but the way to extrapolate that into an actual health remedy for yourself has not become mainstream yet. Yeah. So all these probiotics that you see on the market, I mean, I saw one at the store the other day that had 750 billion CFUs. And it's like, what a joke. You don't need that many CFUs. What you need are some live ones. And the live ones you get from carefully fermented foods. You don't get them from a freeze-dried capsule where the coating's not going to wear off in time for there to be any really market benefit of it. And they're freeze-dried. They're in a suspended state. For a probiotic to actually have an impact on human gut health, it needs to be alive. It needs to be active. It needs to be in the state of reproducing itself, forming a colony and all this. The idea that it breaks free of, vegetable cellulose and goes through this whole metamorphosis back to the point where it's actually alive and going to form a colony, to me is a joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
However, they do have studies on products. And so I tell people to use a study that's been researched. Use a product that has human research behind it.
Okay.
Like the curcumin that I use, get something that has human data to show when it was administered, X, Y, and Z happened. If that happens, then that something is surviving the acid in the stomach and getting to the intestines and doing what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And you can do stool testing and all sorts of things to show the shift of microbiota to know that something is making a difference. And so, I agree with Autumn in that there's a lot of stuff out there that is dead and it's not going to do what it needs to do, and it doesn't get digested well. It may have dairy and all sorts of other preservatives. Those are my bigger issues with probiotics on the market, because a lot of people have dairy sensitivity and then they take a product that has a lactose filler and they get gassy and bloated from that, not from, trying to get well. And so you just need to do your homework, work with someone who, knows how to select out the strain or strains that you need. If you have especially if you have some really overt GI symptoms and been suffering for a few years, you need to, look a little deeper into it.
And so there are certain strains. So, I wish this knowledge was available to my parents when my brother was suffering from schizophrenia, because there are strains of probiotics that even help with such an extreme disease as schizophrenia.
Yeah, there are lots of strains. If you just do a simple Google search on psychobiotics, you'll find, probably two dozen of them, ones that have now been actually classified as psychobiotics. The thing is, though, that I'd want to stress is, yes, those do have some medical research supporting them as actively being able to change the brain chemistry. But at the same time, probiotics in general will help with your brain chemistry, because overall they're going to lower inflammation. And a lot of the problems that we have in our brain is just a simple inflammation. And so a simple inflammation that's fixed by restoring the gut health to your human body is going to make an immediate improvement in your mental health as well. You don't have to necessarily find the perfect strain.
I love it. And perfect timing, I might add. Well, wow, what a great show. What a great way to start off the week. I feel energized, and I'm ready for some football tonight. How about you, Jill?
My Broncos are playing, so
I
I'm always
know
in.
that. That's why I said it. All right, everyone. You know what? A big shout out to our sponsors, because they bring this great programming to you. Great companies like Sun Warrior. Get it at Vitamin Shop or put it in your smoothie at Smoothie King. The H-Hemp Company. Use the code OLR for 20% off your first order. And, of course, Sunlight and Infrared Saunas, Paleo Magazine, and the Wellbeing Journal. Everyone, you get one body, you get one mind, and you get one life. Get out there today and make the most of it.